Buffalo, Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo, 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 Buffalo Bills. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, 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 yeah. Reppin' the mafia, 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 mafia Bills. Mafia, yeah. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Homie, now listen. Everyone play their position. Buffalo got a tradition. They say we trippin'. They better get out our way. Top of the table, we flippin'. We on a mission. Got an unstoppable team. Continue to follow your dream by any means. Buffalo, Buffalo, get in the Super Bowl ring. Cause we the Buffalo, 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 Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo, 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 Buffalo Bills. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, 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 yeah. Reppin' the mafia, 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 mafia Bills. Mafia, yeah. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Mafia up in your city, time to get gritty. Screaming and yelling, we bugging. Look at the red and blue.
This is an MVP year for Josh Allen. As an MVP voter, I said this last week. Josh Allen, he looks like an MVP. When you vote for MVP, and I can speak for myself, I think I'm one of 50 voters, you look at a couple things. Who's the best team in football? Who's the best player on that team in football? What do they look like as the best player on that team in football? And how much talent is around that best player on that best team in football?
Cause we the Buffalo, 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 Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo.
And good evening. Welcome to a special edition of the Coast to Coast podcast. I am your co-host Beyond 716. We want to thank everyone for joining us. As always, we always appreciate you. If you're out there, you know what we're going to talk about tonight. The NFL schedule release 2025. We'll also get into some rookie mini camp discussions. We'll get into a former Bill signing with another team and a little live update as this long disgruntled Nick fan of 40 something years. Just one thing you got to know tonight: never underestimate the heart of a champion. And our great co host wearing that champion shirt tonight, Whittle 2K. How are you, sir?
Good, man. I'm good. You know, this is that time of the year. Usually, uh, the Boston Celtics are polishing off another opponent, getting ready for the Eastern Conference Finals right about now. But you know what, man? Listen, we're down 3-1. Um, you know, my guys are fighting right now. They're fighting to stay alive, but
They
not
are.
too much on the basketball because today was scheduled
Yes.
release day for the NFL. And before we get into that, I want to welcome two of our many loyal soldiers in the Bills Mafia. I would say that
Yep.
they've at least reached capo status at this point. My man Tonesy, straight out of Q Borough, hello, and my man Chance out of Buffalo, man. This is our resident uh, draft savant for the Mafia, man. So shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys popping on with us. We're already up to 71 people watching. I appreciate everybody coming through so far, and we are going to talk a little bit about a mainstay that's been on this team for a few years. Quentin Morris. Quentin Morris today was signed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He got a 1-year deal. He's going to go over there to compete with Brenton Strange and a couple other guys for snaps at the tight end position. Quentin Morris played a ton of special teams. He's been on his team we signed him as a UDFA, and he's just one of those guys that kind of just stuck on the roster every single year. Never really produced offensively. He would have like one ridiculous catch for a touchdown in like a key spot in just like a random game every year. And while I'm happy that he's still getting an opportunity to play. The Bills definitely wanted to go in the direction of continuing to be able to run the football. When they drafted the kid out of Georgia Tech, the tight end Jackson Hawes, I knew that that was the end for Quentin Morris. Hawes has been looked at as like the best blocking tight end in the draft this year. So the Bills are clearly headed in the direction of we are going to run the football. And we're going to stay in 12. We're going to stay in 13. We're going to out physical team. So I appreciate them being consistent. Anybody want to say some final words on the career of Quentin Morris in Buffalo, or is it just like, all right, bro, thanks for everything, keep it pushing?
Yeah, peace out. Peace out.
Yeah, my highlight of
Wow.
Quentin Morris, my highlight of Quentin Morris was meeting his whole family at the Bills Charger game in SoFi. All of a sudden, I see
Okay.
all these Quentin Morris jerseys. I'm like, wait a minute, that's got to be family. How many Quentin Morris fans are there out there? They were super nice. So,
Well,
listen,
we
I
know of
wish them.
one.
I wish. Oh, we do. We all do, and I can see it already on all of your faces. We know who that is, but we do wish Quentin well. But yeah, it was time. So he's. I'm glad he found an opportunity, and that's really all I can say about it.
Yeah, I'll be a little more
Yeah.
sentimental. I'm gonna miss him. He felt like one of those guys, a good locker room guy, a guy that they kept around for a good reason. And you need guys like that. But as we all know, we're in the era of dogs. We're in the era of bad guys. That's how you got to win a Super Bowl. So he's a casualty of war. I wish him the best. Shout out to Jacksonville for taking off scraps. Mitch Morse, Gabe Davis, and now, Quentin Morris. I guess that's where careers go to kind of finish. So shout out to the Jacks.
Yep, I always remember his catch against the Giants, that touchdown,
Yeah.
the great pass by Josh. That was a heck of a play. And listen, the guy's
He got
playing for
hurt
a
on that
long.
play too.
Oh, you're right, he did.
He got injured on that play.
Oh man.
He played a ton of special teams for us, man. I mean,
Mhm.
people say like the thing about Quentin Morris was he was he was a receiver in college, so they just kind of like pushed him into the tight end spot. He never really was an inline blocking guy. He just was a utility guy that just kind of met Morris catching the snow game. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
man. I mean, yeah, like he's one of those guys that people are just gonna say, 10 years from now, you're gonna look back and say, man, you remember that game where Quentin Morris had that big catch? And
Yep.
that's gonna be like one of those throwback names that people,
Yep.
bring up.
Yep.
20 years from now, Quentin Morris. That's a question my son's gonna ask some random person that says he's a Bills fan. He's gonna say, yeah, you know who Quentin Morris is? And the guy's gonna be like, no, and then my son's gonna call him a casual, and then we're gonna move on.
It's
So
gonna
yeah,
be it's gonna be a random space in the middle of July in 2027, and Quentin Morrison date's gonna pop right up.
absolutely, absolutely. But man, so what's been happening? Obviously today was the schedule release for the NFL. I mean, we kind of knew what it was already. Like there have been leaks pretty much all day, and then there were some leaks yesterday as well. Um, and but before we get into that, there have been some. The rookies have reported. This is a big year. We had a lot of draft picks come in that we expect a lot out of. So so far, we've listened to the reports from guys like Style and um, the some the local news stations and things like that talk a little bit about the Buffalo Bills rookies. And then we also heard the rookie speak as well. You had Maxwell Harrison talking about how, it felt the first time he put the jersey on and getting out there with the guys and how him and Dorian Strong already built a relationship. So those guys are kind of leaning on each other, um, watching what each other does in practice and trying to, build off of that. And that's good because you want that chemistry. It's good that these guys know each other. It's good that these guys are getting the opportunity to um, get drafted at the same time, at the same position. So, I mean, for me, when I joined the military, in basic training, we were all kind of learning. So sometimes it's my turn to get up there and make mistakes, and for the other guys that are watching to learn. Then there's other times where somebody else getting up there, they're going to make the mistakes, and then I'm kind of making a mental note. Okay, I don't want to do it this way because this was wrong for him. So guys are having that same opportunity uh, at the corner position. You got Jordan Hancock, who's going to play a combination of nickel, safety, and probably some corner. He's going to play some corner. He's going to play some safety. And then you got Dorian Strong and Maxwell Harrison. So they're going to be able to pick each other's brain. They're going to be able to learn from each other and kind of learn at the same pace and build. And it's healthy competition because I know Dorian Strong was drafted in the 6th round, but we got a starting corner that was taken in the 6th round. He's one of the best corners in the league. So if you're a guy like Dorian Strong that was taken in the 6th, and you see that Maxwell Harrison was taken in the 1st round, you've seen this play out in Buffalo already, where the 6th round pick beat out the 1st round pick for that corner position. So Dorian Strong should understand he has an opportunity to win this job. And Maxwell Harrison also has to look at that and say, I don't want to be the next 1st round pick to lose his spot to a guy taken on day 3. So let me make sure I do what I need to do. Iron sharpens iron. These guys are going to be in competition. They're going to make each other better. And that's how I view the situation. They're going to make each other better. And you know what? I think the same thing for TJ Sanders, the defensive tackle. Landon Jackson's going to be out there. And Deion Walker. Like, all of these guys they're going through the same stuff. They're learning together, and they're going to push each other. Because, these snaps are not they're not a lot of snaps for these rookies to take. You know what I'm saying? We already have established vets. Joey Bosa's here. Ebenezer is an entrenched starter. Rousseau obviously is an entrenched starter. Javon Solomon, we took him in last year. Michael Hoyt will be back in 6 weeks. So it's a limited amount of time to get spun up on what the Bills do defensively, what's your role in your position, and when you do get an opportunity, you want to stand out. You want to be a guy that looks the part and is producing, so that when these snaps get a little scarce, when they're looking at somebody down the bench and they say, we got to bring a guy in, you want your name to be called. So, Jarek, man, I know you know this draft class better than anybody else on this panel right now. So if you want to just speak a little bit about the guys that we got in here.
Yeah, man. So, for those who don't know, I actually love this draft class. I love the philosophy and the direction that we're not just for this particular draft class, but it now gives me a much better direction of where I think we're going to go next year. I think we're going to go with defense again. Perfect example, Landon Jackson. The Landon Jackson game, Alabama versus Arkansas, when there was a bunch of Bill scouts there. When Landon Jackson had 3 sacks against Caden Proctor, by the way, if he's going to trend in the right direction, he's going to be a top 5 pick next year, or top 10 pick, or top 2 offensive tackle. Jackson murdered him and got 3.5 sacks that game against him. I knew right then and there he's a Bill. 6'6", 270-pound defensive end, probably a lot bigger. I think he's listed as 264. He's bigger. He'll probably play at 275, 280. And it's not like he's going to go on an AJ Epinesa plan, because AJ Epinesa was stiff. Like, he's stiff. He's not a twitchy. He's not a really much of a bender. Jackson's way more fluid, and he can play way, way bigger at that particular size. And he's a lot quicker coming straight off of the edge. So he's a better pass rushing version of AJ Epinesa, who can also have ability to set the edge. For the most part with Jackson, he just, again, consistently, or I should say, he's inconsistent in terms of bend. So he's not, he's not the most twitchy. Again, he's twitchy, but he's not the most twitchy player in the world. You'll see in certain circumstances that, he needs to improve with his hand usage. Again, he's raw. He is raw if we're talking about like the quote unquote, like the technical pass rusher. skills from that area. But yeah, Jackson was a player that I love. I knew he was a Buffalo Bill as soon as that game went on. I thought we're gonna draft him in the first round. We ended up getting him in the third round, so I'm happy about that. TJ Sanders was a pick that initially I didn't really love because I'm like, if you wanted to go in that one gap, if you wanted to go in that one or two gap position, you could have got Alfred Collins. If you want more of a pass rushing specialist, you could have got Orman Lott for that, for example, or you could have got Darius Alexander. But I get it. I understand why they went the TJ Sanders position because of position flexibility. He can play multiple positions, whether if it's at 3, whether if it's at 5, whether if it's at 5. Hell, they had him at 7. Like they had that kid at last 7. But mostly, but he can play he can play in that 2 gap position. He can play one tech. He had like 35 snaps for like the last 2 years at that particular position where they just mainly just got him as a shooter, as a gap shooter. So I'm intrigued by him because we talk about we talked about how we need to be bigger, especially if we're playing in a base nickel, like in our nickel defense. We need to get bigger at that position. The fact that they can see Sanders making that full transition and playing that role, I'm intrigued. Again, he's not going to play there. He's not going to play there all the time. They'll move around. He's flexible, but compared to the other pick in Deion Walker, who's 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", 350 pounds, if Sanders play more in that particular role, I'm just curious. Like, let's just say that I'm very, very curious, especially how he's going to look as a third down rotational player. Oh yeah, they may play him they may even play him there more than Daquan Jones. As a third down guy, run down situations, run fits. I'm curious what's his snap count going to be. But yeah, TJ Sanders, athletic, huge upside, plays upright at certain occasions, but you love his athletic upside. You love his explosiveness. His quickness, lateral quickness. He's a do-it-all sort of player for you who again, like South Carolina, they didn't rotate a lot. It was him and it was Tonka. They didn't do that for a reason. He's a 3-down player, and that's what the Buffalo Bills truly like. Walker, I love this pick. I love Deion Walker. You got to take that gamble in the 4th round. And yes, I get it, people. We want to take receiver. We want to get on the receiver train and take Kyle Williams and this and that. Guys, we need to get bigger on the defensive line. That is a must, and for us to finally draft, quote unquote, our first one tech. This is the first drafted one tech we've ever gotten in the Bean McDermott era. The first, which is crazy, but it took us this many years, almost 10 years, but we finally did it. And you got an athletic specimen who, again, it's not a pure one tech. He's going to play 3. He's going to play 4-eye. He's playing 5 tech. He's going to play all over the field. But you're hoping that he can develop into potentially more as that 2-gap player, but a fluid guy, a guy with pretty much some of the most crazy fluid technical movement I've ever seen from a defensive tackle at that particular size. There's a reason why a lot of his teammates and a lot of his college football peers that played against him said that, bro, this is one of the craziest athletes they ever see, because he's doing fake hezzy spins at 5 tech against Walker Parks at Clemson. Like, the dude is pretty much he's a natural athlete, which is insane to me. Obviously, if you take a look at last year compared to his 23 season, you're going to question his motor because he gives up on a lot of plays. You're going to question, he is a raw player. Like, he is very, very raw. He doesn't really convert speed to power all that much. He's not really even that more of a power player. He's a finesse player at 350 pounds. And his best position is at 5 tech. That's the best. He was graded higher in that position. His snap count actually kind of matched. Well, he played much higher at 3 tech, but 5 tech was the second most played compared to 1. So, what's the plan for him is, that's the question. But if we take into a factor how he hurt his back, and he's been dealing with back issues since he was like 15 years of age, it's a plus and it's a negative. The plus side of things is that he was healthy. Right, a lot of his career, as soon as he got the surgery, he was healthy. The downside was that a lot of those recurring issues started to happen again. So I am curious, is how is that back? How is that injury gonna respond? Right, if it responds positively and they go in the right direction, this is a kid that in 2 to 3 years could end up being the next Dexter Lawrence. And I don't like to use Dexter Lawrence a lot, but And we're talking about a freakish athlete, a guy that possesses all the tools imaginable to be a great player within this defense. And we need it. We need ultimately, at least for the next 3 years, we need a compliment right next to Ed Oliver, Deion Walker, and TJ Sanders. That rotation where you can run multiple fronts, which is something that the Buffalo Bills have always tried to do. That's what McDermott ran at Carolina. We're heading in towards that direction. So obviously Maxwell Hairston, I'll go a little quicker. Maxwell Hairston, 4.2 speed. More of an off-man zone corner, willing tackler, ball hawk, fluid hips, fluid loose hips for days. He's a guy that for the most part, you can use him shallow, you can use him underneath, you can drop him to deep third, you can play him in quarters, you can play him in cover two in a cover two scheme, which is exactly what we want to try to go into. He can do it all. He can play a lot of different coverage sets, and so you love that versatility. But most importantly, 4.2 speed. Everyone's going a lot faster. That's where Maxwell Hairston's about. Dorian Strong's more as a press man corner. That's the next guy, press man corner, the opposite. But this is what I'll say about Dorian Strong, and I've never really mentioned this before in spaces or on YouTube or during the videos that I've made. Like Virginia Tech had Dorian Strong play the wrong sort of coverage. And it's a big reason why. There's another man who will come out next year who I believe will be a first-round pick. His teammate was Mansour Delane. Mansour Delane went to LSU, and he's a cornerback, that is physical, 6'3", 195 pounds. Again, long, like 32-inch. I'm telling you, like you'll hear more about him next year. When he transferred, and they gave an interview, and they asked, okay, why? You were this highly touted, player who was a first-round pick. Why did your play kind of regress throughout the year? And he said, well, everyone's play regressed within the secondary because they had a lot of us playing the wrong defensive coverage yet. They had us playing a lot of zone when a lot of us are just man. Like a lot of us are built to play man coverage. We didn't really play that a lot compared to what they did the year prior. And so when I take a look at Dorian Strong into why his play regressed, they played him in a lot of off man and zone, which that's not what he is. He's a physical, hands-on corner. That is, he can play the run very, very well. He can play off man, he can do zone, but that's not what you want him to do. And so for the Buffalo Bills to grab, people forget Dorian Strong in 23 was like a third to second round pick. He went from like a second, third round pick to now being a 6th round pick. And a big reason why, and it wasn't just him, with a lot of those dudes, their stock fell, was because it was simply the wrong coverage sets that they simply played at Virginia Tech. That's why Delane transferred to LSU, and that's why he's with one of the best secondary coaches of all time over there at LSU over there, where he's going to play a lot of man-to-man coverage, a lot of physicality, a lot of press man. I'm telling you, what the name Mansour Delane, watch out for it. The dude's going to be, I think he's going to be a first-round pick. But Dorian Strong's stock, we probably would have never even had the chance to grab him if they would have played the exact same defense they did in 23. But because they were hard-headed, I don't understand they had those changes. They wanted to try something different. It didn't work, and Dorian Strong is now in our laps. But they brought him in here for a reason. They brought him in here because we wanted a change of pace. We wanted to be a lot more physical. And listen, I would have loved to keep Kiar Elam on the roster for at least one more year because I love his physicality. But the fact of the matter is that Chiefs game, man, I mean, it just as a man coverage corner, and a lot of the times he was better as an off-man zone corner than as a press man corner, which is weird. But Dorian Strong, you love his technicality, playing that position. He's going to be in your grill. He's a bigger guy at 6'1", 190 pounds with a long wingspan. I'm excited for him, and I think he'll make this roster. I do. I think he'll make this roster over Dane Jackson. And who knows? Like Christian Benford was better than Elam, and Christian Benford got the start. Who knows? Just saying. Well, who knows? And then Jordan Hancock, my favorite player from the class. Honestly, out of all the players, I think it's Jordan Hancock. Pretty much enough. He's a faster, more athletic version of Cam Lewis. You can play him literally all over the place. You play him as they played him as like a dime backer. They played him at strong. They had him at free. They had him at outside. They played him in the nickel. You can play him in the box. He's a jack of all trades sort of player. They didn't use him in a lot of coverage. So, but that entire Ohio State secondary was phenomenal against the run. Jordan Hancock was one of them. Hancock could be a piece where I hope that they include him a lot more in the defense, but that dude could potentially be your next safety. He could be your next starting safety within the next couple of years, potentially playing free when you have Cole Bishop playing a lot more closer to the box. I wouldn't be shocked he could be your next nickel guy if you want to move on from Teron Johnson. Teron Johnson's 30 years is going to be 30 soon. He may be your next guy there. But Hancock offers a lot of position flexibility, which that's the common thing. Every draft pick that we chose has got position flexibility. They can move anywhere, and that's what the Buffalo Bills are striving for. And with Hancock, 4.45 speed, legit in that particular area, and he plays great against the run. Just the notable things that stand out for me. And Dorian Strong can do that. Hairston is a willing guy who can set it. That is good, but faster, more athletic. This is the direction that we're trying to go in compared to the previous years. We should have done this with Poyer and Hyde. We ignored it, but we're starting to do that now, which I can definitely appreciate. And then Jackson Hawes, best run blocker in the class. I mean, there's no question about it. I can't wait for him to be on the jumbo sets. Hopefully we start to run a lot more 13 personnel, or if we're going to include more 12. I ain't gonna lie to you. If Kincaid gets subbed out, or let's just say you play or let's just say for the sake of argument, Dawson Knox is out. Kincaid's in the slot. You can sub Hawes in there if you want more. You want more versatility, or again, you can have Knox and Hawes together. That's a nasty 1-2 punch combo in the run game, and you can still run play action because you can still use Dawson Knox up the seam. You can leak Jackson Hawes out. I mean, you can use them in a lot of different situations, but mostly the jumbo sets I'm excited for, because I'm tired of Anderson being there. I'm tired of it. Like, I'm tired of having a lineman there. Get an actual mauler guy in there who you can leak out in certain occasions and still create, potential big zone, opportunities, especially in the red zone. That's what Jackson Hawes is going to present for you. He'll be a huge contributing factor on special teams, but in terms of our offensive line and making the run game better, you got the best one out of them all. I love that pick. And then Chase Lunt, who's underrated as all hell. That's a Cromer pick. Yes, the wingspan, he has a short wingspan, and who knows, they may kick him inside the guard potentially, but they got him because of his lateral quickness. Like, he is quick with it. He has lateral quickness, great footwork, and I think he's only let 2 sacks in his entire career playing. I don't think he let any sacks happen during his last year, and he played against mostly ACC competition at Connecticut. So he's a very, very good pass blocker right now. He's just not a mauler. He's not really a physical sort of guy. Again, maybe you can question the lack of competition, even though he played against a lot of the ACC. But in terms of his base form, in terms of quickness, he is the prototypical Cromer guy. And I don't know if he'll make the roster, but it's a good situation to have when you have a lot of guys that can start right now in any team, and guys that can be good, stable pass blockers at least, that you can kind of coach and you can kind of work with. So overall wise, man, I love this draft class, man. I gave it a B+. Honestly, I know, again, all the stuff I'm talking, I didn't give it an A. I gave it a B+. I think that's a great grade. And I love it. I think that the direction that we're going in right now, we're going in a direction that we're leaning more towards athleticism and upside, more focused on RAS score. And I love it. We need to go in this direction, especially defensively. We had to focus on it. Who knows? Maybe next year, the receiver crowd, you can finally get your guy, even though I doubt it. But I'm excited for it. And yeah, can't wait for it. Can't wait for the season to start, honestly, and watch these guys play.
All right, Jared, quick question, man. Let me jump in real quick. I know right now, we double dipped at corner, actually triple dipped with Hancock, but you and I both, I think we all kind of agree that Hancock was brought in to really end up. I think he's going to end up being the Micah Hyde replacement. I think it's going to be him and Bishop. That's your safety tandem going into the future. Especially because, like, Ohio State used him in that way. They used him at safety. They also used him in nickel. At Iowa, Micah Hyde was the corner. When he went to Green Bay used him in the slot. So we're going to take him, and I think we take him and we possibly bring him along the same Micah Hyde path. Sorry, yeah, let me turn this game off, man. So let me ask you this though, Jared. Do you see a situation or a scenario where Hancock moves to safety now? Strong, would you be comfortable with Strong as the nickel? Because I think Hairston That recovery speed, you want that on the outside.
Yeah.
But I think Strong, being as physical as he is, as adept as he is at man coverage, and as good as he is at coming down and run support, I think that will help. Not only that, but if you look at the top 10 receivers in the NFL, or you know what, let's not even say top 10. Let's just go with, you guys can just start naming guys off. Justin Jefferson, 20 to 30% of his snaps are in the slot. Jamar Chase, 20 to 30% of his snaps in the slot. CeeDee Lamb, 30% of his snaps in the slot. AJ Brown, all of these guys, like they move these guys inside and outside. Green Bay, Jaden Reeves, their best receiver, slot guy, right? Jackson Smith and Jigba, Seattle, best receiver on the team right now, slot guy. A lot of these teams have their best receivers, in this slot. The Chiefs use Rashee Rice early on as a slot guy. Like they move him all over the place. Zay Jones. Sorry, Zay Jones. Not Zay Jones. Zay Flowers. Baltimore. Slot. So I feel a lot more comfortable with a guy like Dorian Strong, who may not be the greatest in zone coverage, but he's good enough. And that's the same way I feel about Taron Johnson. I don't think Taron Johnson's all that great like when it comes to coverage, but he's smart. He knows where the football is going to be. He's rarely out of position. But I just think if you take a guy like Dorian Strong and you transition him into the nickel, I think that's a perfect
I think
compliment to.
I think he can. Yeah, he was a slot before. He was a slot before he moved on the outside before. So like they played him there. He's been practicing there. He's got experience playing that sort of position. Yeah, I mean, typically if you're gonna move, anyone to slot, like I would rather be a bigger, more physical guy that can play. If you're gonna have him more in the box, and you can use him to pass rush, which he actually can do. He's really good at it. Actually, he knows how to time the blitz very, very well. We got to get more speed on the outside. Obviously, Benford's your guy, and then Maxwell Hairston. Yeah. If we flipped it and you slide Hairston in there, yes, it will be great in terms of you'll have a more better like zone or off man corner that can play in the slot. That'll be great, but you got to get faster. Like the league is tending more towards speed. You want to keep the faster guys on the outside, and you would love to get more physicality. Especially again, you want to play in the run. One of the things that we just were not really good at was open space tackling. We just were not really that good at it, and so to get guys that are that are really, really good tacklers, just in case we stay in nickel and let's just say, you can have someone in Dorian Strong who can kind of, if Maxwell Hairston struggles to kind of help set the edge, you can get a guy in Strong or even Johnson, I think he'll do, that will kind of make up for it and still be contributors in the run game. So, yeah, if they want to try Strong at nickel, I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially let's just say if we run dime sets and you can have Hairston, you can have Dorian Strong, you can have Hancock on the field. Like there's a lot more stuff you can do besides just having Taylor Rapp or Cole Bishop. You're forced to kind of play in a position that they're not comfortable in playing.
I also like that when you talk about potentially playing dime, I wouldn't be surprised if they put three safeties on the field and Hancock being the third safety. Yeah. You can throw him and Cole Bishop. Him and Rat as your deep safeties, and you can bring Bishop down as a dime corner, and you really can play with six defensive backs and still not give up a ton in the run because you have physical guys that can come downhill and tackle. At the rate that the NFL is going, like Cole Bishop's not that much smaller than your linebackers in Buffalo. Like Cole Bishop 6'2", 200 and some change. That's pretty much what our linebackers are. 6'2". I think Bernard's like at 230 right now. Milano's like around 220, 225. So not much bigger. Cole Bishop's not much smaller than those guys. So, based on what we do in Buffalo, I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, I want to get to some of these comments. We're going to pay some bills, and then we're going to get directly into the. We're going to get into the schedule, and we're going to talk. We're going to talk some primetime games, some of the big games, some of the rivalry games, and then we'll do some record predictions. So, the first one comes from Sierra. Guys, how do you feel about the Bosa signing? And what do you think he'll do this year?
I'll go on that. I don't fully understand it still because the guy has a track record of not being healthy. I know when he's on the field, he's able to produce and help out, in different ways of form, which is why he was sought after by the Niners as well. But I just feel like, when we signed, we have Hoyt, although he's gone for 6 games, but, you had Solomon developing. You draft a guy like a Landon Jackson. You got Groot, you got AJ. I just feel like maybe that money could have been better allocated elsewhere. But he's going to be here. What he's here for, that's going to be the pass rush, or he's going to have a couple, be here for a couple downs, or maybe a 1-down guy, a 3rd and long guy, a 4th and long guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work him in, and if he can stay healthy, I mean, it's a different story. But I'm going off the track record of what he's shown us his entire career, and you just can't stay on the field like that. So,
Beyond.
Yeah, I sort of the one thing I'm okay with is 1 year. When I first heard we were getting Joey Bosa, I was concerned if it's a multiple year contract. That's just something the Bills shouldn't get involved with. But he's played 5 games in 22, 9 games in 23, and he did play 14 last year, but he only had 5 sacks, so his production's been a little bit down, and he's had some injuries as well. So, I mean, realistically, if we could get 8 to 10 sacks out of him, and that would be great. Hopefully it's a contract year in a sense for him. Maybe he's trying to get a bump from a much better Bills team where I think he'll get more opportunities for his skill set to flourish if we have more leads under a Josh Allen lead offense. But I can understand the sentiment that Tonesy has about allocating into a different area. I would say I was just pretty okay with it. I wasn't going crazy over it, but I wasn't super upset about it.
Jared, what you got?
I get it. They're trying to add more depth to the rotation. They're trying to figure out who the best pass rusher on this team can potentially be. Like you got Michael Hoyt, you got obviously Joey Bosa. Now you got the Landon Jackson, you got Edge Epinesa, you got Gregory Rousseau. You're trying to have a much deeper rotation at edge, especially when it comes to trying to get after the quarterback. Joey Bosa can set the edge too. Like, he's a really, really good edge center. And so if Joey, to Tone's point, like, Joey Bosa does have injury issues, like major injury issues, going all the way back to Ohio State. He's tried, I know he switched up his training because, I guess he went really hard with his training. And so he's trying to go to have a much more smoother, easier training process so that he doesn't have a lot of soft tissue injury, because when you're 6'5", 275 pounds, and when you go that hard in training, you're going to tend to have more soft tissue injuries that can lead up to major injury issues. That's why Aiden Hutchinson had the injury issues that he had with Detroit. That's why Detroit put him on a different training regimen. But with Bosa, we gotta we need that Von Miller caliber of player like Von was in 23. You got to have someone that can get after the quarterback. Obviously, we paid Rousseau. We didn't pay Rousseau top 5 or top 10 money. Like, we gave him a team-friendly contract for a reason. Otherwise, I don't think a lot of edge rushers would have took that contract. It was because we know what Rousseau is. Rousseau is a 6 to maybe 8 sack sort of guy. And that's just what he is, right? But he's a phenomenal edge defender. So is Epinesa. So is Jackson. So is Bosa. The only difference is that Bosa out of them all is probably the best. And Hoyt, I forgot about Hoyt, but Bosa is the only one that legit has premium pass rushing type of ability. Even at his age right now at 30, he can still go out there and get after the quarterback. And worst case scenario, if he ends up being a Leonard Floyd for you, which that's another 7-8 sack guy, I'm fine with that because we have a much deeper rotation at edge compared to all the years that we've had with McDermott and Bean so far.
And that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I saw the Bosa signing. I'm fine with it because he's an edge rusher that fits the mold of what we currently have on the roster, which is a bigger defensive end, a guy that can set the edge, a guy that's gonna do what works against these elite level quarterbacks, and that is collapse the pocket, be stout against the run, and force teams to force quarterbacks to beat us from the pocket before the pocket collapses. Now we actually have guys out on the edge and that defensive tackle that can actually do that. And then at the same time, on the inside, on the in complement of that, we have the secondary that actually works. The secondary of guys there who can run with anybody in the league, guys who are not gonna, they're not afraid to come up and be aggressive, and they actually have the speed to recover if they do get beat. So I like the signing because, bro, it just makes sense. Like the blueprint is out. Every time the Chiefs lose in the playoffs, it's to a team with a very good defensive line rotation. You go back to 2020 when they lost to the Buccaneers. You can go look at that line. Like they had guys on top of guys on top of guys. JPP was on that team. Like they had tons of guys on that team that they just kept bringing in and out, and basically giving that Kansas City offensive line hell. What is the Bengals? Now the Bengals are kind of like the anomaly. They didn't have a crazy rotation at the defensive line, but they did have guys that played a really good role, and that cover two variant that Lou Anarumo was running was top of the line. Like I saw a video where he taught that thing for about 45 minutes. So that's like the anomaly, but the Philadelphia Eagles, what did they do? They had 6 or 7 guys, and you just kept rotating in and out, in and out, in and out, and they wore that Kansas City offensive line down. They harassed Mahomes, and they actually had the coverage on the back end to make sure that Mahomes not only could not deliver an accurate football, but could not get the ball out quicker than the pass rush got to him. So, thank you for that, Sierra. I appreciate the comment. Thank you for tuning in as well. Keep them coming, folks. And we're gonna go ahead and pay these bills real quick and run this run our ad. And after that, we'll get into the schedule.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollos, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are keeping score at home, we're not dead yet. We are not dead yet.
Nothing to see here tonight.
We are not dead yet.
Nothing to see here tonight. Listen, Whittle. Listen. You have 90 titles in Boston. I just want one, please. As a Knicks fan, I just want one.
It goes back to New York. It goes back to New York for that game.
Yeah, let's let a team in Manhattan win, and then a team in Orchard Park win in the same year, and get New York their first titles. And the Knicks have won since I was born. Yeah, nothing's easy with this team. Nothing is easy. I'm not really that surprised they won tonight. I'm surprised how they won tonight. That I'll say. I'm surprised how they won. So we'll leave it at that. But on to
All
more
right,
torture.
all right. Oh, guys, you guys just don't know.
Oh, I know, Whittle. I know, and I'm sure
Yeah.
the back channels will be hopping for a couple
I
days.
see. I see the battery slowly recharging in Whittle right now when it comes to
So
that.
slowly.
Oh yeah.
Listen,
I
game
see.
6. Now, I'll say this. I still don't expect the Celtics to win this series, but the Celtics win game 6. Things start to get
Whittle,
a little
That's
spooky going
dangerous.
back to
Whittle.
Boston.
I'm just gonna say it. Game 6 is the biggest game for the Knicks this century. They lose this game, and if they lose this series, I'm telling you
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
that could change franchises. That it really can. And we have a volatile owner to begin with. So
Listen,
just saying.
Beyond, if
Yeah.
if in the unlikely scenario that the Celtics come back and win this series, just do me a favor and mute me on Twitter for about a good 2 weeks. Just mute. Just
I'll just
go
let
ahead
you
and
go.
mute me.
Well,
Yeah, just mute me.
I'll let you
Mute
go.
me for
It's
about
all
a
right.
week because I got.
That's all right. I know you
Uh,
have receipts to take care of. I
mm,
understand.
mm.
It's all right. I know how it works. Believe me, we're Bills fans. We got plenty of receipts on some of these other fans from these fans,
and
which we'll get into
we're gonna get into that right now.
right
Exactly.
now.
All right, so
Okay.
folks, the schedule is up. Um, we open up with we open up at home for 2 straight weeks. We got the Ravens and the Jets.
No, I think
Wait,
we're on the
no,
no, we're on the road
we're
week
on the
too.
road for the Jets. Yeah,
Hmm.
we're on the road for the Jets. But we got the Ravens at home. Road game against the Jets. Home for the Dolphins. Home for the Saints. Home for the Patriots. Then on the road to Atlanta. I'll be there at that game. I will be at the Atlanta game. I will
Ooh.
be at the Atlanta game. I'm also going to be at the game in MetLife, and I'm going to try to get there for the season opener. I don't know if I'll be able to get a ticket, but I'll definitely be I'll definitely be in Buffalo. I'll definitely be at the tailgates. Um, I don't know if I'll be able to secure a ticket, but maybe I can, maybe I won't. Um, the bye week is week 7. Not too crazy about that. On the road for the Panthers, Chiefs at home, road Dolphins, home Bucks. That might be a game I might go to as well.
Me too.
Road Texans, road
That's
Steelers. I'm gonna make it my business to be at that game. Um, and home for the Bengals. I will be at that game for sure. I am not missing that one. Road Patriots, road Browns, home for the Eagles. I might go to that one. I got a homeboy that's a Eagles fan, so I'm gonna hit him up and see what he says, see what he wants to do, and then Jets at home. That's the last regular season game at the Ralph. So. Yeah, I'll be there for that. I'll be there for that game. I don't, like I said, that I expect that to be a sold out game. So I don't know if I'll be able to get a ticket, but definitely be out there. So, you know, Bills fans, come out there and say hi, man. Guys, panel, week 1 Ravens. How we feeling about that?
I'm expecting. So I'm assuming we're gonna break down the whole season, but I don't know how to feel about the Ravens game. I'll come out and say that because it feels like the reverse of what happens with us and the Chiefs, where we beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but we smack. We lose in the playoffs. We lose to the Ravens in the regular season, we smack them in the playoffs. So it's kind of that same feeling. So that's the only reason why I don't know the outcome of this game. Although I do feel like they do know how to stop that offense, how to stop Derrick Henry, how to stop Lamar Jackson. And I think drafting a guy like Harrison allows you to be able to be more in the box because he has that recovery speed, if anything, to catch up with a guy like Bateman and anybody else. So Harrison allows your whatever you call to be more forgiving on your secondary, as opposed to if you had an Elam or another stiff corner on the other side of Benford. So Right now, I call it like a 3-point game. You know, it's always a close game. So I think either way, I don't have a win or loss for that. So I'm just going to say a 3-point game either way.
We already got a record prediction, folks. Johnny, what's good, my boy? Johnny
What's up, Johnny?
is one of our Bills fans, our Bills Mafia members out here in Jersey. 13-4 is his record prediction. Bills will become AFC's chance for the 6th time this upcoming season. 6 times in a row.
In a row.
Let's make
Yep.
sure you put that in there. Johnny, let me know what. Listen, the regular season is cool, and I agree with you. I think that the Bills will win the AFC East, but Johnny, where do you think this team can end up, man? Like, I want to know what your prediction is for the playoffs, because that's all we really care about now, right? I mean, the regular season's fun, it's cool, but we know at the end of 17 games, the Buffalo Bills are going to be in the playoffs, right? So,
Well,
go ahead, Beyond.
tell you one thing. If we win that first game, and again, this is only the regular season, think about the rest of that gauntlet before Kansas City. Dare I say 7-0 going into the Chiefs game is very possible. And I'm not being arrogant about it. Just all right, at the Jets can always be tricky, division games on the road, or we know how some weird voodoo at Jet Life or MetLife happens. We've been there for that, right? But if you look at the rest of the schedule, I mean, at Atlanta could be a little tricky. That's a better team than people give them credit for, right? But I love the beginning of our schedule. We could stack a lot of wins early. Uh, I absolutely, the thing about the schedule I hate the most, I hate the placement of the Eagle game. I cannot stand it. Next to last game of the year, December 28th. That could be nothing for one team or both teams or not. The weather, I just felt like that was a classic November game, 425. That could be a Super Bowl preview. It's very possible. And I just thought they missed the boat on putting that game so late in the season. That was my first thought looking at the schedule. And I agree with you, the week 7 bye, not my favorite, but we had a really good bye week last year, so I can't complain all that much on that front in terms of the league.
Let me throw something in here real quick. So, a couple of things that, obviously these are, obviously we understand that Ogunjobi and um, Michael Hoyt are out for the first 6 games, but we got that bye week. Right after what was that, week 6? Week 7? Week 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's essentially going to give those guys roughly 2 weeks to get acclimated to playing and working with the team and taking snaps right in time for the Chiefs game. So they'll get one game with the Panthers, and then it'll be let's bring in Kansas City. I think I don't love it because I like the later season bye, but for that reason alone, it's like right lined up where it needs to be. You know what I'm saying?
Real quick, Little. The one thing I do like about the week 7 bye is it's not far from the trade deadline. So that's a good time if the Bills need to assess if there's something that we're going to need to upgrade. It gives them the 2 weeks. It gives them time to maybe assess some of the rookies on our roster that are going to be playing for Hoyt. I can't. Well, who's the other guy again? I'm drawing a blank.
Ogunjobi. Larry Ogunjobi.
Larry, it'll take me 3 times. So that could give us that's one advantage where the bye week is in week 7.
Yep. Jared?
Well, yeah, the Ravens game. The Ravens game is going to be interesting. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's that game. I can care whether if we win or lose that game. It is what it is. We'll see that team. We'll probably see that team again in the playoffs at some point. Obviously, seeding that matters. We got to try to get the number 1 seed. I mean, so maybe I'll take that statement. But we probably need to win that game. Got to get the number 1 seed, man. So we can just. It's not even the fact that we play at home, man. I don't want to play in the wild card. We have been banged up so many times playing in the wild card. I just want to play in the divisional as fresh and healthy as possible, because who knows, weeks, the last week of the season, if we can somehow some way clinch the number 1 seed, we don't have to play week 18. We don't have to play the Stars week 18. You don't got and then you don't got to play in the wild card. So that's like 2 weeks of fresh, get recovery, try to get ready as much as possible for your next divisional opponent. But what I'm more intrigued about for that Ravens game is how Maxwell Harrison's going to look, because he's going to go against either Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman, probably Rashad Bateman, right? Or either way, they're interchanged. Tylan Wallace will be included. He's a speedster. Like, it's a lot of speed at that position. And we're going to see if Maxwell Harrison, that test, how can he hang? Especially because Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers, they're like top 10 receivers in the league in terms of separation. So I'm very, very curious to see how is he going to handle that first test. Obviously, the defensive line, that rotation within your defensive line, how is that going to look despite Hoyt and Ogunjobi? Because you got Derrick Henry, you got that physical offensive line. Lamar Jackson is going to do Lamar Jackson things. It is what it is. It's just nothing you can kind of do about it. But what you can do is that you can try to do your best to stop Derrick Henry, limit that run game, or at least limit the yards per carry. Like, Derrick Henry can still get 100 yards, but what's the yards per carry limit? Because if Derrick Henry or that rushing attack with Hill is averaging 4.5 or 5 yards a carry, despite that defensive line rotation, it's week 1, so of course it can definitely be fixed. But I'm going to be worried. I'm going to be worried because we just spent an entire offseason trying to address that particular aspect, and we're still getting ran through like that with 4.5 yards per carry. So that will kind of worry me a little bit there. But besides that, the win or loss, I'm just more interested in those particular aspects on defense. How is the defense going to look in week 1? How is the adjustment in the secondary in terms of the athleticism and the defensive line? How is that going to look against the more physical, gruntled Baltimore team that's looking to get payback? They lost in this building the last time they were here. They're going to look to try to get revenge. I'm curious to see what they're. And then the Falcons game. The Falcons game and the Dolphins game. These are 3 games that are definitely going to intrigue me, because the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel is weird, because it takes Mike McDaniel one game against us to figure out what a better game plan against the same defense is going to look like. Always the second time around is when they play us a lot better. And always the second time is when they start to establish more of a run game. And that opens up a lot of the RPO-based action, quick time, a lot of quick timely throws that Tua's accustomed to do. And that's how always in the second game, Tua has like 300 yards or 250 yards, and he has like a high completion percentage. The first game, though, again, whether it's because they just don't have enough film on the Buffalo Bills and what we're going to do defensively, even though it's kind of obvious what we love to do against the Dolphins the first time. I am curious, though, because they start to lead, because they have upgraded the offensive line and they have tried to be a lot more, they've added a lot of maulers, both offensively and defensively. So with the offensive line, if they start to lean more towards a heavy run game with Gordon and A-Chain, how is this defensive line going to look? And the exact same thing will be said about the Falcons. The Falcons has a really good offensive line. They got 2 good running backs in Bijan Robinson.
Yep. And Algier. Yep.
Tyler Algier. That's a run-heavy focus offensive line that offense that leans a lot more towards play action with Michael Penix. So those are the 3 games around like the first 8 that I'm very, very curious in, because if we can hold our own, I'm not saying we're going to dominate, but if we can just hold our own defensively and we can limit yards per carry, third down defense is still pretty good, and most importantly, secondary, like Hairston is not like he's going to have his struggles. He's a rookie. But he's not Kiar. He's not Elam. He's not to a point where you have to you have to substitute and get another player in there, because he simply is not ready to hang with the pros. That's if all those things kind of work in motion. Second half of the year, second half of the year, I think that's when we can still go ahead and make a push, and that's when I think, at least to me, like that's when I think, okay, maybe this team is ready to compete for a Super Bowl, despite whether or not, let's just say the Bills go 11-6 or 12-5. I think those 3 to 4 matchups, I think, are key because they do things that caters towards our weakness, which was again, we were a great third down team and great third down team, but yards per carry wise, we were one of the worst teams in the league. Athleticism and RAS in the secondary, we weren't really that fast. We didn't have that much depth with our rotation defensive on the defensive line. So all that stuff within those matchups, I think that those are the matchups I'm just looking really forward to the most because of the strengths of what those teams possess that gives us major problems.
Yep. So I'm glad you brought that up, Jarek, about the Bills having issues with first and second down and keeping teams out of like third and short, right? So by adding the speed on the outside, right? Adding some more size, some more athleticism at defensive end and at defensive tackle with Sanders and Landon Jackson. Um, you, I think the Bills are built now to play more of a man scheme. They're built to really commit to saying, all right, if you're going to get chunk plays on us on first and second down, take your shot. But we believe that we have the speed, we have the athletes on the outside, as well as at safety. We have the athletes at corner and safety to negate that, right? So we're gonna commit 6 guys to the box, and if you can run on that, you can run on it. If you can't, you're gonna have to throw the football. And we think we have the athletes to take that away, or at least make it way more difficult. So I love that about this team. I think going into this game against the Ravens, um, the Bills have to treat this game as a must win because of the seeding implications at the end of the year. There are certain teams that I do not believe the Bills that are on this schedule that the Bills have the luxury of losing to. Those are divisional opponents, the Chiefs, the Ravens. I'm not too worried about NFC teams. Well, I want to beat the Philadelphia Eagles because that's one team that Josh hasn't beaten yet. I think it might actually be the last team that Josh hasn't beaten, but um, that's it. Like those are the games that I think the Bills have to really key in on is the division games because obviously you want to win the division. The Ravens and the Chiefs and I guess the Eagles because of implications. Even Houston's another team that while I don't know if Houston's ready to compete for the 1 seed, they're still a playoff team. You still want to have that tiebreaker. You still want to be able to set the tone for lack of a better phrase. What other games you guys looking at? Like, just give me a game on the schedule that kind of sticks out to you, and just we'll just talk a little bit about why.
Just in terms of
I'll throw the schedule
yeah.
back up.
Okay, let's take a look. So a game that sticks out to me. I mean, I really think that Houston game is going to have some serious implications. Uh, that pass rush is ferocious. We saw that in the playoffs last year. I mean, I love Coach Ryan's. What he's doing out there in Houston. And that's a Thursday night game. That's another thing I'm not crazy about. It's a short week. I'm not sure what Houston has before that. I have to look at that and see in terms of does that give them an advantage or not in that case. But that game could have some implications. I think that's a sneaky elite game on our schedule that a lot of fans may not look at. They may look at more at the Kansas City game, and of course the Eagle game has tremendous intrigue. Obviously, Josh Allen, that's the only team he hasn't beaten in the NFL, by the way, is the Eagles. So, and I wish that game was a little bit earlier, and there's some other games, of course, Cincinnati as well. But I'm really looking at that Houston game. I'm really intrigued. I mean, we kind of owe them from last year, that horrendous game that Josh had, which was without a doubt the worst game of his career. So that's my first thought on that. What about you guys? What do you say?
So I think that pocket of Houston, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati is what's going to make or break our season. You know what I mean? As far as seeding goes, and because I'm fully confident that the AFC East runs through Buffalo, and that's going to be there as long as Josh is here. But as far as seeding goes, to get a top, number one, or I know number two still plays wild card weekend, but at least having a home field advantage throughout. I think that's a big determination right there because, like you said, Houston is going to be right there. They're going to be fighting, especially if Tank Dell is there, Nico Collins, and everybody remains healthy. Cincinnati, if everybody's healthy, is going to have one of the most potent offenses out there, and they're going to just be in an all-out shootout in every game that they play. Pretty much every game is going to be like 48-45. Pittsburgh is a tricky one you could fall into when you're playing teams like Houston and Cincinnati, who are right there, kind of fighting to make it deep into the playoffs, and they're trying to prove they're contenders. Pittsburgh could be that sleeper game because obviously they're going through what they're going through. They don't even have a quarterback, and they might go 9-8, but it's going to be one of those very sleepy 9-8s. But the way they're always 9-8 is they sneak out wins. Their defense sneak out wins. So that 3-game stretch to me in the schedule is the part that says this is what the Buffalo Bills are, and how they do is how I say, okay, we're either ready to win this Super Bowl this year or we're still missing something. So that's it.
Jared?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to like the last 3 games. I think the last 3 games could potentially determine if we're gonna get the number 1 seed or not. Because let's say you got the Cleveland Browns. When you got to go on the road to Cleveland, it's obviously it's 3 hours from Buffalo. It's probably gonna be last year it was they had crazy games against the Steelers where it's snowing, and it's like Cleveland is despite Cleveland being a doormat for the NFL, like they're like that place playing in the dog pound it's tough. It's a very, very tough place to play. That's a defense that's really, really underrated. Offensively, they got some key hitting pieces. That's a game where, again, like you're coming off of that stretch with Pittsburgh and Houston, and you're coming off the stretch. And so when you're heading towards the final home stretch of the season, now all of a sudden you're going to start to get a little bit more, depending on where you are, because, like the Buffalo Bills, best case scenario up to this point, who knows? They may need one game more to win the seeding. And so that's where I think, that's where Cleveland, I think, okay, yeah, that could be an automatic win because they know the implications if they win that game. However, I think that, typically at this point, most teams have like at least a couple of conference losses by this point. And so I think Kansas City went through crazy luck. I don't think they're going to go through that again. Yeah, they're going to win a lot of games, 12, 13 games, no question. But Baltimore,
Sure.
Kansas City. I do. I think they're both good. I think they're going to be in the exact same realm as us at this point of the season. Even though Kansas City has like a tougher, like their division's tough. Like that Denver and LA defenses are going to be nasty. And so but the Chargers, I don't trust Justin Herbert. And I do think that Bo Nix is going to have a sophomore slump. So
Really?
yeah, we'll see, man. But yeah, man, like I think Cleveland, that's the game I got circled as a trap game. That's the trap game that I think could potentially screw a lot of things up for us. Obviously, you got the Jets in the final game at the end of the season. I'm praying that we don't have to play that game. I am praying that either we have we either have the number 1 seed on lock, or a team has clinched the number 1 seed and we're just playing the backups like we did against the Patriots again. I'm praying for it because I don't want to play. Let's just say the number 1 seed is on the line, and the Jets. You got to beat the Jets last week to get it. Yes, it's possible. Yes, I mean, of course, it's the Jets, but you never know. Upsets can happen, and what happens if you lose that game? Now all of a sudden you're screwed. You're playing in wild card weekend, and it's just so like the last 3 games I got circled. Obviously, Philadelphia. It's a non-conference game, so it doesn't have huge implications, but still, like that it could be a determining factor where you may need to win Cleveland and Philly in order for you to get the seed. So I'm looking at those last 3 games. That's typically where the injuries will happen, the bull crap will happen. That's when the nasty weather will come out, the snow, the wind. And so, yeah, I'm looking at those last 3 games.
Okay. So I'm not disagreeing with anything that anybody said. And Johnny, my man Johnny's got us winning 13 games. I think the Bills. I mean, we'll get into the record prediction shortly. But the game that sticks out to me is the Cincinnati game. And it's not because I think Cincinnati is a team that we're gonna have to worry about in the playoffs. I don't believe that Cincinnati's gonna make the playoffs. But I think that is a game that you need to win if you're Buffalo, because the Bills have gone through this entire facelift of a roster to go from the Brian Daboll motion orbit four wide receiver, high flying, throw the ball down the field offense that scored a lot of points and was really soft and couldn't run the football all that effectively outside of Josh Allen to a real, heavy personnel, hand the football off, ball control, take our shots when they're available. Like we really went from a finesse team to now they're trying to be more of a uh, NFC East from the 1990s, 2000s type of power football, imposing your will type of team. So, in order for that to actually set home completely, you got to exercise all the demons. 2021, we lost to the Bengals in who was that? No, that wasn't the playoffs. 2021, we played 2022, I think it was. We played against the Bengals in the regular season. That was a game that was hyped up. They had just come off of a year where they went to the Super Bowl and lost, and they were supposed to replace the Bills as the next team after the Chiefs, and they did for a few years. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, they did. 2021 they went to the Super Bowl. 2022 they went back to the AFC Championship game. That's the game. Damar Hamlin, dies on the field. It's a really somber moment. And for those of us that are on social media, especially Bills fans that are on Twitter, Tone, you and Jared, you guys weren't in the spaces with us, and you weren't heavy on the app with us at that point. But Beyond, I know you remember because I will never forget this. We had great, back and forths and conversation with the Bengals and all that stuff prior to that game. And that was a huge game. And Damar Hamlin goes down, basically dies on the field. And literally within an hour of that happening, there were Bengals fans on the app going crazy, all right, I don't understand why we're not finishing this game. And they were up. They were up. What was it? 7-3, I think it was, or 14-3, or something like that. They were up. Yeah. Right? No, 7-3 because the following possession was when Damar Hamlin went down. But yeah, so they were going crazy. And I'm sitting back and I'm taking all this in because we just spent weeks talking football with you guys, going back and forth, talking football, having great conversations, saying screw the Chiefs, all of this other stuff. And this is what y'all do? Our man just died on the field and y'all are talking about go play the football game because you're winning?
Yeah.
That rubbed me the wrong way. Then the playoff game, right? And we can get into the X's and O's and all other stuff at another time, but during that playoff game, they beat us. They beat us up. We were injured. They were injured. No excuses at all for the injuries, but both teams kind of limped into that game, and they looked like the clear better team in our building. And what's crazy is they told us before that game that what they were going to come in and do, and they did it. They told us they were going to come in that game, they were going to beat us up, they were going to beat us in our own building, and they did it. And they made snow angels on our field. They talked all types of crap to the fans that were at the game. They talked all types of stuff to us on the app. I mean, it was really, really nasty with Bengals fans for a while. The following year, we played them again in the regular season. Josh has a bad turnover, trying to throw a pocket, trying to throw that whole shot in the cover two between the corner and the safety. Cam Taylor-Britt picks it off. They end up scoring. Very, very charged up game, right? We had a chance to get into. We were going to be in the red zone with the ability to go ahead and score. And what happens? Dalton Kincaid gets the ball punched out by Jermaine Pratt. Turnover. They get the ball. They run it out. And our defense struggled that game to get stops, right? They struggled. They pretty much got whatever they wanted offensively. We had plays here and there where we won, but honestly, Their third tight end made plays, running backs made plays, like a lot of guys that, and then just like T. Higgins just really embarrassed like Dane Jackson. Like just it was ugly. I have never forgot about any of that. They made snow angels on our field. Eli Apple, who I don't even think he's in the league right now, got up
Not to my
there and tweeted Cancun on 3 and then put the DeMar Hamlin heart in that tweet. And Bengals fans laughed about that. All over the app. They went into spaces, they laughed about it, they talked all type of crap. I've never forgotten about that. And I know the Bills I know Bills fans haven't, and I know that the Bills players haven't. We are not that team anymore. We are not the 4 wide on 3rd and 4, run 4 verticals down the field and somebody get open. We're not that team. Top 5 offensive line. We have a top 10 running back in James Cook. We have a top 3 quarterback, not 3. We have a top 3 quarterback, not number 3. We have a top 3 offense, not the number 3 offense. And I believe that this defense actually has the talent, actually has the athletes to get back to the point where we were a top 3, top 5 defense every single year. And I think this year is the year that the Buffalo Bills defense performance from the regular season carries over into the postseason. You got to win that. That's that game that I have circled, because that is the game that tells me the old Buffalo Bills from the first half of Josh's career is done. And this current roster, this current style of play, which to me makes more sense because it mirrors more of the city. Like Buffalo's a hardworking city. Tough winners, middle-class people. No free lunches. That's what this team is now. So go get your respect back, because the Bengals don't respect us. Let's go get it back. Go and bring them in the building, beat them. They're going to be on the bubble at that point for sure. Give them a loss so that they're outside looking in and scraping and clawing to try to come back into the playoff picture and play. That's the game you got to win. That is the game you got to win. I am so charged up for that game. I'll be there. I might show up Thursday for that Sunday night game. I might show up Thursday for that one, because that is a game I think the Buffalo Bills have to win. They have to get that monkey off their backs. They have to. Snow Angels in our building, bro. Cancun on 3. DeMar Hamlin, it's too much bad blood there. You got to win that game. You got to win that game.
No question. And, listen, since he's gotten the best of us the last 3 games, I mean, really 2. I don't count the last 2 times. I mean,
I'm counting, though. They count that game. They count it.
They
count it. Yeah, and they hang that game. They hang it every interaction you go, or like when there's trash talk between the 2 fan bases. It's always they bring it up. They bring up the past results, and it's like, bro, that's 3 years ago, but that's what they like. The Bengals they're the Jets. The Bengals are the Jets. When the Jets beat us the first time, even though we beat them the second time, they will always bring up the first time that they beat us every single time, no matter what the year. The Dolphins were the exact same scenario back in 22. It's just like the Bengals have taken, the fans have kind of taken this to another level. I agree with Whittle. We got to win that game. That's a game I'm definitely going to be going to as well. We have to win that game. It is bad blood. It's literally bad relationships, bad personal relationship between players on that particular team, from our side to theirs. That's a game that's going to be nasty. It's going to be a nasty game, and especially because that could be a game that could literally kick Cincinnati out of the playoffs. If we win that game, that will be one of the most satisfying wins, probably in the last, at least as me being a Bills fan, which is my 27 years of existence, that would probably be one of the most satisfying wins ever. So I do hope we win that game.
Yeah, I mean,
going out there.
Johnny's not even on Twitter, and he's on it. Johnny's not even on Twitter, and he's on it. So, bro, I'm sorry, man. That's the game I got circled. I mean, it was, when I say nasty, it was Like I really had to step back and like DM some people like,
Mhm.
bro, we good? Like you all right? Like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
like is it a problem? Like I had a lot of people, that I thought were one way, and I had to sever ties, man, with a couple Bengals fans after that.
Listen,
Hey,
the
I'm
moment,
sorry. Go ahead, Tones.
No, I was gonna say the moment when the Bills dog walked the Broncos. Yeah, it's Tone, by the way. The moment the Bills dogs walked the Broncos in the playoffs, and all the Bengals fans are like, "Oh, they're lucky it wasn't us." This, that, and the third. I'm like, yeah, we got to handle business. So that's why, like, I got it circled on my calendar as a game I want to drive up to Buffalo for, because that got to get handled. That got to get nipped in the bud on the way to the playoffs. We can't deal with this no longer, man.
I just got a couple things for Cincinnati. First of all, Ken Dorsey ain't walking through that door. Just remember that. Number 2, your Skyline chili sucks. Number 3, Ken Dorsey is not walking through that door. Just remember that, right, Whittle? They're not
Yo,
going to see
listen, man,
that
we have
same
two.
offense anymore. Uh, you
I,
know, that
I'm
night.
trying
You
to
know what I
tell you
remember?
guys, man.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Listen, man. We have two. I'm in the Josh Allen era. We have
Mhm.
we have two distinctions of time. It's BD and AD. It's before Dorsey and after Dorsey, right? That whole Dorsey thing was a terrible experiment that I just want wiped out of my memory banks. But before Dorsey, with Dayball and that was great. That was a great time frame. It was a really fun team to root for. And now we're in AD, and that's after Dorsey. And the Bills were 10-0 at home last year, guys. All right. The Bills were 10-0 at home last year. So I don't see a situation where we're gonna I don't see a situation where the roster of the Buffalo Bills are going to allow that game to not be a game they absolutely go in there and try to embarrass the team. I know that that's not what we do. Sean McDermott's a really nice guy. He calls off the dogs. He doesn't want to bury teams. Um, bury them. Bury them. Bury them. Enough. Bury them, because when you bury them, it sends shockwaves through the rest of the league. If we did that to Cincy, what's in store for Kansas City? What's in store for Baltimore in the playoffs? What's in store for the Chargers or the Denver Broncos or the Texans or whoever else gets there? Like my man Dog says, leave no doubt. Leave no doubt.
That's right.
That's
You
his
know,
crown.
it's funny.
That's where I'm at.
Classic, though.
I'm reading the comments. I know somebody was saying, and it's funny that they say this. We love Cincy for getting us into the playoffs with Andy Dalton when he fucking knocked the Ravens out. Excuse me, when he knocked the Ravens out.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yo, I can't stand them. I hate their jerseys. I hate their colors. I hate everything about them. I don't want to see them. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
That's
What I
it,
remember?
man.
What I remember about that night, Whittle? Right after the DeMar Hamlin thing, we had one of the most powerful spaces I've ever been involved. We had prayer. We were praying for DeMar Hamlin. I led a prayer with about 200 people, and the emotions were pouring, and you could feel that every Dolphin fans, Jet fans, we were all together. It was powerful. Then an hour or something later, you go on the timeline. Well, that didn't last very long. Maybe about 5 minutes. Right. And that's the part that was disappointing to me, because that moment it captured that it was way bigger than football, as we all knew. Right. And then the Bengal fans turned it very quickly in a bad light. So I agree with you. It hasn't been forgotten. And yes,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not
looking
gonna
for a route.
belabor this. I'm not gonna belabor this any further because we're gonna get out of here real soon. But one of the most humbling things, one of the most humbling moments on this stupid app we call X now, um, was after that playoff game against Cincinnati. me and Lee Sean having to go into that space with them and listen to them, talk. I mean, when I say talk crazy, like people I have never interacted with before saying, y'all lucky we only beat y'all and we didn't kill another one of your players. They played all types of music, kept muting us, calling us out our name, and we had to sit there and like men, you know what I'm saying? You put yourself out there and say, yo, if we beat you, you know what time it is. So, when you dish it, you got to be able to take it. And we sat there and we took it. I will never forget that. Never, never, never. Just like we did with the Jets, man. Like the Jets did that when they beat us in that Monday night game. That's why every time we get a chance to dunk on the Jets, I dunk on 'em. I mean, two-hand tomahawk Sean Kemp style. I'm not taking any shorts with these teams that tried to put pressure on us. So final thoughts before we get out of here. Jared, any final thoughts? You want to give out your socials? You want to do anything? Let the people know where they can find you, et cetera, et cetera. The floor is yours.
Yeah. So you can find me at Jan Sports on YouTube if you want to check out like me crashing out, doing like reactions and stuff like that. Me just going crazy during Bills fan reactions. I do a lot of Bama fan stuff. You can also check me out, Sharpshooters podcast, and you guys check me out on the Sharpshooters podcast, which we'll do every week, and then Buffalo, and then also with Fanbase and Mafia Sports Report, which I'll be on there on Friday, which we'll talk. So but just real quick, I'm scrolling through like the I made a video. This was 3 years ago. My reaction to the Bengals loss, and I'm literally just going through these comments. The amount of Bengals fans that talked that just these were recurring Bengals fans that visited the channel. They were nice. And then ever since that game happened, the amount of stuff that they talked, and I forgot about this. I got 300 comments from this. The amount of Bengals fans that said some of the most disgusting things that you'll see about not just DeMar Hamlin, but just about our city and the organization. Bro, I want my get back against this team so badly. We had the argument with Bengals fans earlier about in terms of why there's beef. This is years past. This is 3 years in the making. In terms of why we do not like that team, why we don't like that organization. So, cannot wait for that game at all, man. But yeah, that's where you can find that.
So.
Yeah, so I know we want to wrap up. So I just wanted to say a prediction on the season. But first off, I just wanted to say that in seeing the Bills go ahead and get Palmer and then Elijah Moore, Keon's kind of your 50-50 guy going downfield. I know Bills fan could complain about the offense or the lack of drafting wide receiver, whatever the case may be, although we got Prather in the 7th round. The Bills have a type. And the reason why I feel like we'll see a lot more jumbo, whether that be Alec Anderson as a 6'0 lineman and Hawes next to him and Knox as kind of your leak out guy, and then you could have packages as well where you see Shakir on one side and maybe Elijah Moore or Palmer on the other side, kind of similar because you got guys that could get yak and or twitchy and could get beat you on the short routes, the intermediate routes, as opposed to the long routes on earlier downs. There's a lot of interesting things that this offense can do with what they added. We saw in the playoffs where there was plays with Shakir where he was lined up as an up back while they were in the pistol, where we could see stuff that's similar to that. Maybe that's more Kincaid this time and it's not a run, but Kincaid leaks out, or maybe it's Hawes that lines up in a position like that. There's so much to the imagination that I hope Brady is able to do what he has to do. So the one thing I'll say about the defense is that I never liked when it was always that the Bills were a top 5 defense. All those stats showed it, because at the end of the day, it felt like every single third down they would give up. Every single big stop they wouldn't get unless it was a lesser team. Every single big run they were supposed to stop, they couldn't stop. So hopefully this is the year where it all finally gets put together. I get the the need for flexibility. I will say I was a proponent of getting a guy like Alfred Collins because at least you always know you're going to have a guy that's going to eat a single gap and two guys up every single time to let everybody else eat one-on-one essentially. And especially if you want to send a linebacker in, you're good to go. You send a Milano downhill, Bernard downhill, you send Dorian Williams downhill, that always is going to work out. But it's about getting stops on third downs, and that bend but don't break mentality has to stop this year. It has to stop this year. Like I said, I think Harrison is going to help this defense out a lot because he's going to forgive us in a lot of man coverage situations where he'll be able to recover. I think his willingness to put his shoulder, even though he does miss his fair share of tackles, but he always gets his shoulder in there. I think his missed tackles more so come from the guys just bigger than him. A guy's stronger than him, a guy's getting a little bit lower than him, or but he's always there to slow the guy down. And in the NFL, when you slow a guy down at least half a millisecond, there should be three more guys right there behind you. That's how the game should be played, essentially, but NFL more so than not. So, although I know, we run cover two primarily, I do in Tennessee more man coverages. Also, if we do run the dime package, that's something that will allow Dion Walker to move around. He'll play a little zero tech because you could also rock with 3 down linemen, with the 6 DB. So, that'll be interesting how they use that. Maybe they switch into that a little bit more on third downs, depending on how his back is doing. I know the back injury stuff kind of bothers me, and I hope he's more to form in 2023 than he is 2024. But needless to say, my record prediction for this year. So I have a couple wild takes that I'm going to put this on wax now because I've said it in spaces, but I feel like, I just want to make sure my name is tied to these. So I got the Bills going 13-4. There's a possibility for 14-3. I think my one caveat is the Ravens game. I do think we'll have it closed out by the end of the year by the Philly game, the 1 seed. So I think those 2 last games might be where you see the 2 losses or one of those are losses, depending on what. Now, the divisional game, we will play the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to come to Buffalo because they're going to lose their division to the Broncos. We're going to smack the Chiefs, finally get over this hump, and we're going to see the Broncos in the AFC Championship game.
Ooh.
We're going to make work of the Broncos because the Broncos are going to make it there because of their defense. Right? They're going to be a number 1 defense. They're going to be amazing defense. They're going to be one of those defenses where offenses can't figure out, and their offense does just enough to get past a la 2000 type Ravens. Not saying their defense is 2000 Ravens, but how you had Trent Dilfer.
Like 2015, no fly defense.
Yeah, essentially. You know
what
I mean?
How about last year's Chiefs team?
Yeah, because they were only averaging 22 points a game, and they were winning
without massive benefits from the refs. But
yeah, of course, But we can't talk about that because we just get cold whiners. But yeah, I do see the Broncos defense being the soul of that team, continue to be the soul of that team. So they'll find their way in the AFC Championship game, just not having an answer for who Josh Allen is and our defense as well. And I think we close out the year, the final year on the Highmark Stadium, the Ralph, with the AFC Championship win, and then the Super Bowl, man. It's year 60. This is it. I don't know what else to say. To me, it's year 9. It's year 9. I'm going to go on my bold takes. I'll fall on that sword if I have to. It's boom or bust now for me. It's Super Bowl or bust. There is nothing. They did everything we wanted them to do this offseason with the draft. They made their additions they felt they need necessary on defense. Offense, we scored 30 points a game last year. I do believe that turnover ratio will continue because of a Sean McDermott-led defense because it's pretty much a plug-and-play system. So you have more talent this year than you had in years past. So that plug-and-play system with elevated athletes is just going to make it that much more fluid. You know what I mean? So this is it. That's it for me, boys.
All right, Beyond, let me get your we're gonna do the record predictions. What's your record prediction, Beyond?
I'll make it short and sweet. I got 13-4. I was thinking 12-5, but I think we're going to do better. And I'll just echo a lot of what Tony said. And we talked about this last week. I've been a fan of this team for over 40 years. I've never we've had teams in the past where we've had better high end players. Kelly, Thomas Reed, Bruce Smith. I mean, these are all Hall of Fame players we're talking, right? But we have never had a deeper roster than we have right now. Quarterback aside, which is crazy. That's the only position where we're not that deep. But everywhere else, we're stacked. I can't think of anywhere in this team where maybe there's like 3 or 4 guys that we identify that we can't really afford to lose. But there's a lot of guys like if we lose the defensive end, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like we have plenty of depth. I love our draft as Jance went so great into and got me fired up after that. I was ready to go get the season started. I'm ready to rock. So I think this is the year we make it. I think this is the year we get over the hump. I think this is the year we get the 1 seed. I think this has all been building to this moment. It's extremely hard to get to Super Bowl. And I think a lot of us fans sometimes lose sight of that and we pass it around too easily. And in this conference, again, we've talked about a lot in this show, Whittle. Bills have the second highest winning percentage in sports since 2019. Kansas City's number 1, folks. What are we talking about? We've lost to them by 12 points in 3 total games in the last 3 playoff games. We are this close, folks. This close. We get over Kansas City like the Red Sox did with the Yankees. If you guys are baseball fans, the psychological warfare that was for Boston when they finally got over the Yankees, they became a power franchise. And I think we could do the same. And this is the year we finally knock it down. And once they do that, I think this franchise is going to go to even higher heights from there. And we're winning it all. I'm putting it out there right now, but I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to wait. And I don't know who we're going to play in the Super Bowl. I hope it's not the Eagles because they scare me, but it's hard to repeat. But I'm going to say maybe Detroit. Maybe we get that Buffalo-Detroit Super Bowl that a lot of people wanted last year.
Real quick before the next one, we have to slay the demon besides the Chiefs and the NFC East as well. So give me the Eagles.
Yeah.
I want to slay
I'm not.
It's going to be tough, but yes,
I'm less worried about the Eagles than I am. I'm not as worried about the Eagles as I am like a team like the Rams or
really.
Yeah, like I think
Well,
the
Rams,
Rams.
they worry me a lot more.
They worry me a lot more than the Eagles do. Honestly, you get the Rams. You can let's just say the Bills get. Let's say the Bills get to the Super Bowl and have to play the Rams. You're talking about Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams in perfect weather. I don't want to deal with that. I don't know about you guys. I don't. I think their line is good. I think their defensive line with another year. I mean, we could talk about this forever. So I'm going to stay on subject, but the Rams to me are the scariest team in the NFC. The scariest. But go ahead, Jared. Your record prediction.
I'm going to say 13-4. I think we're probably going to get the number 2 seed probably again this year. I don't know who's going to get it. Could be Baltimore. Could be Kansas City. It's going to be one of those 2 teams that I think could snag it. I think we'll probably get the number 2 seed. Do we get to the Super Bowl? I don't know. But I do think we'll get to the AFC Conference Championship game. Obviously, the division opponent, you're going to play either Baltimore or Kansas City. It's going to be one of those 2 teams. It sucks that, but it is what it is. But we're gonna have to go through that gauntlet. But yeah, I would say 13-4 and number 2 seed.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna go 13-4 as well. I agree with you, Jared. I think we end up getting a 2 seed, and I think if we go 14-3, we're the 1 seed. But if we go 13-4, that one game being the game against the Ravens, Week 1, that's the game I think comes back and bites us. I think the Chiefs have a handful with their division. The Chargers are a lot better. The Broncos are a heck of a lot better. And I think the Raiders are going to put up a fight as well. Like the Raiders defense isn't that bad. They actually have a quarterback who I respect. They're going to be able to run the football, and they're going to be able to attack the Chiefs in ways that a lot of teams don't attack them. I think they have the defensive line to cause the Chief issues as well, and their secondary is solid. So I don't think the Chiefs will be the 1 seed. I think it comes down to between us and Baltimore, and that's where I'm at, man. Like I think if we're the 1 seed, we're going to the Super Bowl. If we're not the 1 seed and it's Baltimore, going into Baltimore for an AFC Championship game is going to be a high, high, high task. I mean, that's a high ladder to climb. I'm not saying that we can't do it, but that's going to be that's a difficult task to ask anybody to deal with, especially with some of the additions that the Ravens made. I think that Malachi Stark's draft selection was huge. I think that was huge for that defense because you really allow Kyle Hamilton to just kind of be a wandering wild card. So yeah, I got us going 13-4, the 2 seed, and playing the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship game. I don't know how that's gonna go. If the game's in our building, I think we win. I think we go to the Super Bowl, and I'm not worried about any team in the AFC. I mean NFC outside of. I think the Eagles are great. I think they're a great team. I think Josh Allen puts us over the top against that team. Um, it's different with the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford. When Matthew Stafford is on, he is difficult to deal with. So, yeah, that's where I'm at, man. But listen, everybody, thank you guys all for tuning in. First and foremost, thank you, Do Champions, for for the platform and for support and for all of the support. Let me throw the banner back up one more time. So, yeah. So thank you guys for all the support. To our guests, Jarek and Tonesy. We appreciate you guys coming on. Tonesy, thank you. You know your stuff, bro. Like I appreciate you. And look forward to working with you again. Jarek, you know what we do with this draft thing, brother. And I know you're already working on your 2026 stuff. So always, if you guys want to come back on, anytime. And trust me, throughout this season, we will be hitting y'all up to have y'all come on, react to games, talk about games, matchups, et cetera, et cetera. Beyond, you know what it is, brother. You're my guy, man. I hate that we're at odds right now in the NBA, but
it's all right.
It'll be over soon, and then we'll be good, bro.
I'm already tortured thinking about Game 6, but I'll leave that alone for tomorrow. So.
Last but not least, everybody in the comments, everybody that's viewing, we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. If you would do us a favor, hit us up on YouTube, either at Do Champions or at Coast to Coast, or do both, man. Please, subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications when we drop stuff. I'm going to try to do more videos. I know I keep saying this. We're going to try to put out more content for Coast to Coast. We're going to try to put out some shorts. We're going to try to talk, especially over this offseason with these rookies and things like that. We'll try to get a little more content out there. But, you can always find us here 9 p.m. On Wednesdays. We're going to be talking Bills. And, we're going to try to continue to bring you great content. All of the comments, we appreciate everybody. Our regulars, Big Dog, I appreciate you, man. We'll see you week 2. And MetLife, as usual. Johnny, appreciate you, brother. Andrew, appreciate you, man. And K-Jack, thank you for popping in. And last but not least, where's my lady at here? Ciara, thank you so much. For everyone else, Pandora, thank you for popping in as well. Even though you're a 49ers fan, you're good in my book. But everybody, thank you guys again, man. We're gonna sign off here. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as Bills news pops up, tap in with Do Champions. We're gonna have somebody talking about something, and it's gonna be Bills related. Good to be seen, guys. Have a good night.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.